Good afternoon and welcome back to Science Fiction Retirement Library. I've had a lovely Sunday morning, basically reading, which is good and is rare. And I'm reading my 10-book challenge at the moment. I've just got on to book 2. So I'll do my first tier rank of my 10-book challenge. And so far so good, that's all I can say. But this is the third box from that South Coast auction haul. And the third box is my first ever box of science fiction pulp magazines, basically. So I think on the last video, I mentioned this, which was actually from, I think it was from, if I remember rightly, it's from Richard's collection. So that's the first ever pulp magazine that I've acquired in a book haul. And it's a good one, right? Because it's got a story by Isaac Asimov. So I'm going to work through this third box, which I've basically put in a box like this. It was scattered in other things, but that was a clean way of doing it. And I'm going to learn as I go, basically. So I'm intrigued, obviously, by the artwork, number one. And then I'm intrigued to see what's inside these magazines. Like, are there some of my favourite old school authors represented in these magazines, but also the different types of magazines. So, you know, I've heard of Astounding, I've heard of fantastic fiction, things like that. But what have I got here? So there's quite a lot there. I didn't look at them when I took them from box A, box B, because, you know, I like to be honest with myself and have reactions related to that. So let's just go for it. I'm literally just going to take the next one, the next one, the next one. I'm hoping there's some kind of order. I'm hoping there's a run. I collect comics as well, so it's about collecting runs of things, right? Completism. So let's go, the first one. So the first one is Astounding Science Fiction. So this is my benchmark, or my only one, which is November, and so that's November 1957. So if we've got anything around then, that would be fantastic. So this is June, but it's strange. It doesn't tell you what's on the front. It doesn't tell you on the front, but it's the British edition, which the other one was the British edition, and it's 1 and 9. So maybe it is of the same age. So the man on the bottom by Dean McLaughlin. So is this a bit of, it's interesting. It's a Valiant fan. He looks a bit like Ninjak there. This is quite good. Pretty good condition. Oh, that's a good smell. So next issue on sale, June 20th, 1958. So this is June 1958. So it says volume 14, number 6, British edition. And this one is volume 13, number 11. So is there one a year or something like that? Anyway, I need to find out. But this is probably in better condition than the other one. I think a lot of them have the same adverts on the back, international correspondence schools. But let's have a look what's in here then. So we've got Dean McLaughlin, which was the cover story. A second game by Charles V. DeVette and Catherine MacLean. So that's novelettes. So there's a group, novelettes, short stories, Penal Servitude by Randall Garrett, Try and Change the Past, Fritz Lieber, that's good. Serial, The Man Who Counts, so second of 3 parts by Paul Anderson. So I've just read The Avatar by Paul Anderson, and I really liked it. So yeah, want to read more. And then the editorial, Analytical Laboratory. So that's kind of the structure of these old 50s magazines. And again, I just imagine being a kid in that age and seeing that on the shelf. And this is kept in really good condition. So yeah, first one, so good. Editorial is by, it doesn't really say, but wow. So first one, awesome, and fits in with what I've got. So I don't think they're all Astounding, because I did see some different sizes, so I'm thinking they're different, and I did scan them. So again, this one, The Man Who Counts by Paul Anderson. So is that the serial I just talked about? Now, how do I find out the cover artists? So what's strange here? Why have we got a screw and a bolt up there? Or is that something to do with the publisher? But again, really good condition, good front cover. May 1958, so volume 14, number 5. And that one was volume 14, number 6. So it's the one before that one. And here we have The Man Who Counts, which is the serial, which is the part 1. So that one was the part 2, so they're advertising Paul Anderson. Novelette by L. Sprague de Camp, Brute Farce, Eric Frank Russell, John Stoper, Robert Silverberg, No Way Out, short story, Achilles Hill, Christopher Anvil, The Dread Tomato Addiction, Mark Clifton. So already, you know, we're seeing the authors come in. Now, I just want a bit. So annual subscription, 20S post free. Nice. Why can't I see? Okay, I'm going to have to look up how I can find out the cover artists, because it doesn't seem to say. All my eyes are rubbish. There's a lot of these characters who look a little bit like, what's his name from Marvel? The Aquaman type from Marvel. The Atlantean. Should know that as well. Precedent by Robert Silverberg, so that's the main novelette. John Stoper, Gordon R. Dixon, Christopher Anvil again, Robert A. Heinlein, the serial Conclusion to Citizen of the Galaxy. Wow. And this one is April 1958. Oh, and the other thing is I didn't really understand, but they do have illustrations of different size and quality. Like, some of them are really quite detailed. There's one I just saw there. Okay, so that's like the front cover to the story by Gordon R. Dixon, for example. Wow. Nice. And at the end, I'll maybe choose my favourite covers and have a look at the run. March, The Gentle Earth by Christopher Anvil. So a lot of Christopher Anvil, and I haven't heard of Christopher Anvil. But this one looks like a sea-based, but again like an ogre type sailor with an old pistol. But again, astounding science fiction. So Christopher Anvil again, The Gentle Earth, The Shrines of Earth, Robert Silverberg, Edward Wellen, Robert A. Heinlein, part 3 of 4 for Citizens of the Galaxy, and then an article by Jack Williamson, Science Fiction in a Robot's Eye. So that's really an interesting thing as well, to read something written, I presume, in 1958 and try to think about the impact of that 1958. We all do that with the fiction, but the non-fiction, the articles, is something you could really get into. The American Astounding Science Fiction, of which this is the British edition, is edited by John W. Campbell Jr., of course. Oh no, here we go. Cover by Freyas. That's all it says. Symbol. Oh, okay. So anyone that's way more knowledgeable than me I found where it says the cover. It must be my eyes. And then I think this is a symbol. So there's some reference also on every cover. So cover by Freyas, and it says illustrations by Freyas and Van Dangen. Symbol, climate is not equivalent to weather. So climate is not equivalent to weather. So, of course, yeah, look, you can see here. That's the nut and bolt, there's a reason. So, cover by Freyas again. Symbol, trigger effect of a mouse eating cheese. Is it like a dingbat? He said wombat, like a dingbat. So that one, let's see the nut and bolt. So cover by Van Dongen this time. Symbol, it looks workable, what's wrong? So it's like you have to guess it or something, right? What's wrong is it hasn't got an ability, what do they call it, like a Phillips head or a flat head. Wow. I'm just going to look at all the symbols. So that one, can't believe I couldn't see the covers before. So Freyas again, symbol pressure extrusion. Yeah, don't really understand that one unless it goes all the way around there. What an interesting item. And on the one I got from the last haul, let's have a look. So cover by Freyas again, symbol non-malleable component. Intriguing, especially for the young mind, the aging mind as well. But okay, so Freyas, I need to look up this Freyas. Anyone that knows about Freyas, let me know. This looks like, based on the colour palette, etc., and the style, this probably looks like the same artist as well. So Astounding Science Fiction from February, Thinking Machine. Now, this one doesn't look like it's got a symbol. So let's have a look. So February 1958, Volume 14, Number 2, British edition. And cover by EMSH, so no, it's not the same. So again, my eyes are letting me down. And no symbol. Okay, so interesting to see how the symbols came in. So short novel, The Grandfather's War by Murray Leinster. More Christopher Anvil, short stories, Randall Garrett. And then Serial Part 2 of 4 for Robert A. Heinlein. So January was like the kickoff of the Heinlein, by the sounds of it. And then an article, Overflowing the Periodic Table by Isaac Asimov. Wow. Great. So I'm going to keep count. So that's 5, not including the one I got before. Oh, that's not a good start. I think that's from another book. So this is January. Yes. So this is the go big in the new year. And has that got a symbol? That looks like just a kid's written on it, but I think that's a symbol as well. So let's have a look. Is that Freyas or no? That's Van Dongen, and the symbol is crystal liquid interface. Very interesting. So the big one is the Heinlein, Citizen of the Galaxy, part 1 of 4. David Gordon, novelette, Lookout Duck. Short stories, Eric Frank Russell, Dean C. in Walter L. Klein, and an article, Fusion for Power by Milton A. Rothman. So the articles maybe are just like real kind of interesting scientific pieces. I honestly, when I'm looking at these, like you can't really see it maybe on the screen, but I think they're one owner. Like on, you see here, I've seen the name on some of them. Like this is, they bought them and kept them. I don't think these have kind of been traded a lot. I think it's the collection that I got of the books was similar ilk. There was, you know, late 50s and early 60s books. Okay, so this one is the one, I presume, that I need to try to reattach this. And I am going to do like a book, an attempt at a book restoration, a novice's attempt. So Street and Smith's Astounding Science Fiction, September 1954. So what was that one? Yeah. So this one does have the year on it, and this one's by E.B. Coyle. Cover again by Freyas. And no, it doesn't mention about the symbol, but is that not the symbol? Got to look up these symbol things. So September 1954, E.B. Coyle, Chad Oliver, Robert Abernathy, Joseph Whitehill, Hal Lynch, and articles by Wallace West and Murray Leinster. So the Murray Leinster article is to build a robot brain. So yeah, it looks like pure science. So September 54, that's definitely in the worst condition. And I'm guessing it might not be that, although it hasn't got a back cover, because it looks like there's tape there and I can't see tape residue elsewhere. Maybe there was. So that's the worst condition one. But that is the earliest one, I think. August 1954, Immigrant by Simak. It's a bit of a different cover, so they're different. And now again, is that a symbol here? Let's see if they mention. Maybe they only started mentioning later on. Cover by it's Kelly Frias. So they said Frias the whole time, but now they're saying Kelly Frias. So I'll look up Kelly Frias. So volume 10, number 8, British edition, August 1954. And inside here, Simak, Arthur Zirrell, Walter M. Miller, short story called I Made You, Asimov, serial, and articles by J.G. Hocking. Wow. Nice. December, this looks like an older one. So Break by Paul Anderson. Paul Anderson was so prolific, like just crazy. This is much better condition, and this is December 57. So yeah, so this is volume 13, number 12. So it seems monthly, and then the volume is based on the year. So if that's like the 13th year or whatever, did it come out in like 44 or something? I don't know. So novelettes, Break, Paul Anderson, then one, the Stainless Steel Rat. Stainless Steel Rat. The whole novelette. So I've got that separate. So that's page 34. How many pages is that then? Great. So these things just literally then became published books. Med Service, Murray Leinster, short stories by Eric Frank Russell and Jay Williams, and an article by Paul M. Levy Jr. And cover by Freyas again, and symbol shockwave pattern in turbulent medium. Nice. Right, just move a little pile there. Find a bit of space. I've got another box here, which is a 90 book haul, believe it or not, which is going to come soon. Oh, interesting. Do you know what? I had this weird feeling that I'd get my first duplicate. So that's my original from Rich's collection. And I've got it's a much better copy, much crisper copy here. Just unfortunately with a slight fold there. Yeah, that's a much better copy. So Profession by Isaac Asimov. Great. So I'm already upgrading. I haven't even really started collecting these, but already upgrading. I'll check that they're definitely 100% the same. I'm presuming as magazines, but you never know. Oh, this one's nice as well. It says 1 silver. So I think that's the bit on the top there. I think that's the address for like postal delivery. So 1 silver something way. And this one's got a symbol as well. So Ribbon in the Sky by Murray Leinster, which looks like a very interesting one. And then another novelette by Paul Anderson, Randall Garrett, short novel, A. Bertram Chandler, short story, an article by Eric Frank Miller. And that's in great condition. It's probably the best condition one yet. So 1957, October 1957. I'll put them in order at the end. So this one's September. Is this also 1957? Yeah, so December 1957. Interstellar Quarantine. There's a guy there looking bored. He's got a book though. What's Eating You by Randall Garrett, which is the main short novel. And then short stories by Lee Corey and John J. Maguire, and Serial Part 3 of 3 by Robert Randall. And an article by Isaac Asimov called The Trapping of the Sun. And again, genuinely, that's like read once. What's the symbol, by the way? Let's see the symbol. The cover is by EMSH, and the symbol is statistical anomaly. I still don't really understand the relevance or the design. So these are all Astounding, which might be just because I put them in a, you know, they were easy to go there. So Call Me Joe by Paul Anderson, August. So I'll go quicker through these. Cover by Freyas again, symbol Transformation Under Heat and Pressure. And August 1957, Paul Anderson again. I'll call out any kind of really interesting names, or surprising names, let's say. The Dawning Light by Robert Randall. There's a lot of Robert Randall I've seen. Great cover again, great cover. And that's very, very good condition. So this is July 1957. More Paul Anderson, more Asimov. And symbol Electronic Pruning Knife. Input noise, output signal. Wow. Electronic pruning knife. It's one of the first beasties, I suppose, 2 and 6. Lion Loose, James H. Schmidt. A lion no wall could stop. Awesome. Lion that goes through walls. 1 Silverstone way, I think it is. So this is volume 18, number 2. So this is later, February 62. Who's Harry Harrison again, Sense of Obligation serial. Strangely, not as in good condition as the earlier ones, but into the 60s now. Oh, do you know what I missed? I'm into the 60s and it's analog science fiction. It's no longer astounding science fiction. God, attention to detail. Yeah, different adverts. So this is analog science fiction. So is that John? So that's John W. Campbell as well. Okay, but when did it become analog? I need to see that, right? That's something I want to get into more. So my first analog, but it is pretty much the same size, probably the same printers, to be honest, back then, wasn't it? So this is Sense of Obligation by Harry Harrison, Avram Davidson as well, good condition, and this is January, so it must be the same edition. January 20th, 1962, so yeah, volume 18, number 1, so yeah, January number 1 again. So the Harry Harrison, and yeah, no surprise, but a good, so my second analog. Third analog, which is March, and it's got a Hal Clement on there, which is good. It hasn't got the symbols anymore, right? And cover here is by Schoenherr. Illustrations by Krenkel and Van Dongen. So this Van Dongen, tell me, is probably a very important illustrator back in the day. So Christopher Anvil, Harry Harrison, The Sense of Obligation, Conclusion, and then the science fact is Hal Clement. So H-bombs are puny beside magnetic bombs. And that one's a little bit, yeah, the pages are kind of coming off. It's got a bit of tape on it, so. Ranging in condition, and some of the older ones are better. Okay, they're falling over. So more analog. The analog pile is growing. September, Clifford Simak and Arthur C. Clarke. Identification by Christopher Anvil, which looks like The Fly, and Jeff Goldblum. Cover by Shown Her Again. Novelettes Death and the Senator by Arthur C. Clarke. Gone Fishing by James M. Schmitz. And the serial was The Fisherman by Clifford D. Simak. Now, someone's mentioned that to me. I don't know if, or I've seen it on a video. I don't know if it was book pilled. But The Fisherman, I think I've heard of that story. And that's, someone in my comments was saying that they've got a huge amount of these and they acquired a huge amount in really good condition and they sell them every so often. And when they sell them, they get one out and then they're sat there for ages reading them. You kind of get sucked in, right? Randall Garrett, Clifford Simak, Heavy Industry 1995. So that might be an interesting one. So this is November, early 60s again. Oh, and it's got some traces, some extras in there. So what's that? The So Made, Britain's largest selling below £12 electric portables. Look at that. That's, by the way, this is incredibly crisp condition. Free, the colour folder lists your nearest Universal shop. That is awesome. That is awesome. Let me put that back in and make sure it doesn't fall out. So, Randall Garrett again, Christopher Anvil, The Fisherman Conclusion, covered by Shown Her Again. So another analogue, the black cover. Very nice. Okay, hold on. Malzburg de Camp, Clifford Simak, Mutual Indifference. It really is all about the cover art here, isn't it? Oh, wow. This is why I think read once. Like read once, that's folded as it was meant to be. This was read once and then stored. Lloyd Biggle Jr. in this one. Malzburg de Camp, as I said. Illustrations. It doesn't say the cover. It just says illustrations. But this is volume 17, number 10, so October. So analogue. Nearly got as many analogues as I've got Astounding there. So August, The Fisherman by Clifford. Okay, so that's the first one. So whenever they get a big author doing a serial, it sounds like that's the one they're advertising. So this is August, November, December. I think it was 3 parts. So look at that. That's a great. Look at the rocket and all the. So that's a nice front cover. And the van with all the symbols. Again, doesn't say the cover though. Printed in Great Britain by Marion and Gibb Limited, London and Edinburgh. Any others in there? Walter Butt, Donald Locke. So, yeah, volume 17, number 8. About a third of the way through, I'd say. So, Hiding Place by Paul Anderson, Ultima Thule by Mac Reynolds. That's the first mention of Mac Reynolds. He's got a gun in a newspaper that's not very well hidden there. So, cover by Shown Her Again. You can kind of tell. I want to get to a point where I can tell. Short novel so by Mac Reynolds, novelette by Paul Anderson, short stories by Clifford Simak and Autumn. And that's July 1961. Analogue. More analogue by looking at the back cover. So I'm getting them from the back cover. Jurassic Park, Forerunner. Mark Phillips and Mac Reynolds, Christopher Anvil are advertised. So this is June 1961. So again, volume 17. Mark Phillips, Harry Stein. Nice. And again, the condition is like as I would like them for these magazines. It must be like, so as I said, I collect comics as well, and obviously comics of a certain age, 60s for example, Silver Age, etc. Golden Age for sure, are hard to get in good condition. So I kind of put these in the same camp, apart from they're a little bit hardier, you know, square bound. Randall Garrett, Walter Bupp again, Mark Phillips, Harry Stein, and that's May 1961. I've got a feeling I've got a few years of Analog and Astounding, or at least 1 or 2 of each, that are full runs, which will be great. I'll be very happy with that. Okay, back to Astounding. I noticed it this time. But it has got the same back cover as Analog, so I need to see that. and this has gone up in price, so this is slightly later, I presume. It's got the symbol back. Oh no, so slightly later than the ones I had before, but earlier than analog, so I presume the analog is the, Astounding is the forerunner to analog. November 20th, 1959, cover by Van Dongen, symbol parallel tracks. So the symbol's up here. Yeah, parallel tracks, but it looks like it's an animal scratching. Ralph Williams, Chad Oliver, Philip Latham, Mac Reynolds again, Gordon R. Dixon. Oh, and it's Dorsai. So Dorsai is the cereal within here. So awesome, awesome. Giving all these people their, like their bread and butter, basically. Okay, this is the first one that kind of has a bit of water damage, but Dorsai is the thing that's advertised. And it also, I'm hoping this is a symbol up here. That's a good cover. Van Dongen again. Yeah, Van Dongen. No, it doesn't say anything about the a symbol. But this one is volume 15, number 8, August to September 1959. Nice. Are we still on Astounding? Yes, we are. And this is 1 and 9, so this is slightly older again. And it has, all of the ones that have got an address on the top are the same address. So I genuinely think this was like a house clearance, estate sale, something like that, right? With the books as well. And as I said with Richard's collection, I treat these things like with a lot of respect. My dad was a collector, like a big collector, not of literature, mainly of vintage toys. And he passed, and the collection is still in my mum's house. And what I want to do is run through the collection to learn about my dad, because it's his whole life, to be honest. And I know it's objects and it's, you know, bought things, but there's a huge amount of him within it. You know, how things that he used to paint miniatures, restore old Corgi and Dinky toys, for example. So he was a very able craftsman and artist, let's say. So the same thing here. This is someone's probably curated collection, or a minimum is a bookshelf in a room in their house that they enjoyed, right? Because there was 2 boxes of books and 1 of these magazines, so they were a fan. So the Miracle Workers, Jack Vance, that's the first Jack Vance that I've noticed. This definitely has a symbol at the top right, but it doesn't mention it again. So Jack Vance, Murray Leinster, Christopher Amble, Hal Clement, which is the conclusion to another one. So October 1958. Nice. So still on Astounding. Astounding, 1 and 9 September. Pastoral. That's an interesting cover as well. What's up with that? Is that a dead beastie? The world's foremost magazine of adult science fiction. Adults. Cover by EMSH again. Okay, the novelette is Air Reluctant by Robert Silverberg, and Silverberg's not mentioned at all here, but it's very early doors, I think, right? Because it's September 1958. Second of 3 parts of Hal Clement. So it's amazing when I look back of all these authors that are so well known now, how they interacted and overlapped, and they, you know, I'd love to find out a little bit more about who was friends with who and things like that. Close to Critical, Hal Clement. Beasties on the cover, painted cover, which most of these probably are. August 1958, cover by Van Dongen, symbol metastable state. So within there is Hal Clement, Gordon R. Dixon. Oh, You Take the High Road by Frank Herbert, short stories. That's the first I've come across Frank Herbert in here. Nice. Well, you might hear them falling over a bit here, so I'm trying to be careful. July, Basic Right by Eric Frank Russell. July 1958, symbol rapid progress does not assure achievement. You work it out, what's that? It's going to get smashed at the bottom or something, I don't know. Downhill fast. Christopher Amble again, John Stopper, Paul Anderson, William C. Boyd. Nice. Animals in a strange green tin. Still on Astounding. That's a good one. What's that, like a, it is December, so is it a warped Christmas issue? The Conservative, inside a new Christopher Amble story, Foghead. So December 1958, Christopher Amble, James Schmidt, Gordon Dixon. We have Fedal C, Paul Anderson conclusion, covered by Martinez. And no symbol. That's a good cover there. This one's got a symbol. Oh, we have Fedal C by Paul Anderson. So some of these are actually in order, which they just must have been packed that way as part of the auction. So it's got the symbol again, but it hasn't got what the symbol is. Maybe it was like a, you write in and you have to guess. So we have Fedal C, Paul Anderson again. Point of Focus by Robert Silverberg. Anton Lee Baker. Good condition again. So that, sorry, I didn't say, it was November 1958. Nearly through the batch of Astounding, which is stood up. So July, maybe this is 1958 as well. Wherever You Are, Winston P. Sanders. There's a cover. Look at the colours on that. I wonder what the symbol is there. I'd love to know the symbol. The symbol is Strange Time. That's my guess. Well, it's not a guess, it's ridiculous. But July 1959, covered by Freyas again. Winston P. Sanders, Eric Frank Russell, Christopher Amble. A lot of Christopher Amble here. I've never come across Christopher Amble. So if you know about him, was he short stories only and periodicals only, or was he novel? Okay, this looks a little bit like the one we saw with the guy with the sword. Best Made Plans by Everett B. Cole. Definitely got a symbol again. Try and guess what that is. This one has got it. Removal recommended before operating machine. That's the bit that twists the drill, right? So yeah, you want to take that out. Everett B. Cole, Richard Sabia, Eric Frank Russell, Christopher Amble, Robert Silverberg again, short story, Certainty, and Great Condition, February 1960. So the Arrest are Astounding here. So January, The Aliens by Murray Leinster. That's a good one. That's good. I like that one. I wonder what that symbol is. The symbol there is similarity does not equal identity. Difference does not equal conflict. You tell me. You tell me. Dingbats. Murray Leinster, Bertram Chandler, George Whitley. Nice. And that's January 1960. Great Condition again. So late 50s, early 60s. Randall Garrett, but I don't think. So just imagine the work that went into these covers as painted covers. I wonder where the originals are, if they even existed, or even still exist. Symbol is welding or cutting. I suppose it's, you don't know. Schrödinger. August Budrus in this one, I think that's the first there. Article, Isaac Asimov, The Unartificial Elements. And then the conclusion of Dorsai. So this is December 1959. Wow. The age of these just blows my mind. The paper is still. June, Adventure is Somewhere Else. Some guys hard at work on another planet by the looks of it. And if you're a kid and you see that, fantastic. June 1959, To Spoilers of the Golden Empire, David Gordon. August Budrus again, and Robert Silverberg, short story translation error. And Serial by Murray Leinster. Freyas again. So Kelly Freyas, we now know. The Pirates of Ersatz, I've heard of that, by Murray Leinster. And that really is a pirate, but he's got a zap gun. So May 1959. Calvin Knox, Peter Bailey, Frank Herbert again, Missing Link, short stories, John A. Sentry. So Frank Herbert is one because of June. I don't know, because of June, but I haven't read anything else. Like, do a lot of people like that? Like, I think a lot of people, once they read June, they read everything in the June saga, let's say, the June universe, which I haven't done. I moved on to other things when I read it. But do people then seek out all the other Frank Herbert? It's just something, again, it hasn't sparked me, even though I did really like June at the time. I will be doing my top 15 science fiction of all time at some point, maybe for video 50, but I'll let you know. Interesting one. the diplomat is the alien, or the guy trying to keep things cool. April 1959, Bertram Chandler, Paul Anderson, Stanley Mullen, Gordon R. Dixon, Charles V. DeVette, Eric Frank Russell. Cover by Freyas again. Very prolific Freyas. Again, good condition for the age. The fundamentals don't change. That reminds me of is it the famous Marvel cover with the Hulk and the Wolverine, the big guy, small guy thing, right? And he's leaning on him. I don't think it's a nod to that. It's slightly different, but I do like that. Look at the little guys and the tall guys. It's Lilliputian. I was reading something the other day about actually Gulliver's, talking about Lilliputian. Gulliver's Travels is one of the kick-off novels for science fiction, which obviously makes sense. March 1959, covered by EMSH. So H. Beam Piper, that's the first I've seen of H. Beam Piper, Ministry of Disturbance. And another serial by Paul Anderson. Wow. Is that why Paul Anderson, I feel like Paul Anderson has not less respect, but is it because he puts so much out there as like a working author? Like, honestly, I'll give my reviews. I'm going to do like a tier ranking, as I said, of the 10 books I'm reading. And Paul Anderson, The Avatar, was the first one. He's talented. That's all I'm saying. He's got great ideas. And I read stuff in the Sci-Fi Masterworks before. A Bicycle Built for Brew by Paul Anderson. Is that the best cover yet? It might be. Look at that guy's face. It's like someone just cut it off. He's all ears. That's for sure, that guy. I like it. I like it. And it's got a sailor in it. And it's got a nice as well. These are great. These are great. I still think, novels are my thing, but... Oh, what's happening there? This is an interesting one. It hasn't got like a front page. It's got tape on it. So this is a different format. It is astounding. Unless it's actually missing pages. Is it missing pages? Oh, it's like that first page is taped. Hold on. Can you hear that? Ooh, this could be interesting. I want to do this without... No. It's like glued together, the first page. So I can't really show you that one, and I don't want to pull it off because it's... Yeah, there's... Is it only that bit? No, it's like the whole thing is glued. So I'm going to leave that one. I'll look it up, what's in there. But great cover. So the Astounding pile is much bigger than the Analog pile, for sure. And here's an interesting blue giant on an interesting contraption. Big Front Yard by Clifford Simak. And this one's got the symbol. Let's have a look. The symbol is Mobius strip, which it is. That's just what it is, right? I saw a really good illustration of that, of someone actually taking a ball round a Mobius strip and trying to, your brain can't handle it. So the Big Front Yard, Paul Ash, Randall Garrett, Rog Phillips, and that's January 1959. That's a good one. Again, look at, it's the imagination, isn't it? I was reading something, my wife and I are quite into psychology, and especially at the moment in a social media world, and she's been doing an article on the importance of being bored, the importance of daydreaming. And I used to have a guy I used to work with that said all of his ideas came from the shower, because you're kind of subconsciously cleaning yourself, and your mind wanders, right? And it's things like this. Who comes up with these things? The writers, the artists, etc. I'm sure it's in the strangest moments of contemplation or quiet mind, and a spark comes. A kid's losing that. I saw something that 33% of kids in a survey, I don't remember the ages, said they were anxious, like they have anxiety. It's scary, man. And I look back at some of these things and just think, yeah, we need to learn to be bored again, or in a world of uber content where you can do anything, just be bored, it's fine. Now, I don't know if that's the last Astounding, but they look a bit smaller. These ones look a bit, yes, they are smaller. So someone can tell me the format. This hasn't got a back cover. And it's Fantastic Stories of Imagination. So we've got an Analog, we've got a lot of Astounding, and now we've got Fantastic Stories of Imagination. So Jack Sharkey. He That Hath Wings by Edmund Hamilton. Now that is a cover and a half. worse condition for sure. Let's have a look. So it's the first one I've looked in for Fantastic. So July 1963, volume 12, number 7. Jack Sharkey, Edmund Hamilton, Ron Goulart, Thomas Dish, Final Audit short story, and a serial by Keith Laumer. So do you think like they got exclusivity? Tell me if you know, exclusivity of some of the writers for some of the magazines, because that's the first I've seen of Dish and Laumer, and it's in a different magazine. So who's the editor here? Seeley, I probably pronounced that wrong. Goldsmith, Seeley Goldsmith. So July 1903. So that's my first Fantastic Stories of Imagination. Let me create another pile. Now, are all these fantastic? They're fantastic, but they're in worse condition. Oh no, this isn't Fantastic. This is a different one, but maybe it's the forerunner. So the magazine of fantasy and science fiction. The reason I say it is there's a symbol here that looks very similar in terms of the publisher. William Tenn, Gordon Dixon. So no, that's what's in terms of exclusivity. God, this is a mess, this one. This is literally falling apart in my hands. So maybe the quality is not as good as Astounding. Oh, I don't want to show you, but you see the pages there? And they're falling apart in my hands. I'm not going to go further. But it's 1965, so it's later. So this one is just too damaged. So Judith Merrill's in there. Isaac Asimov, Gordon Dixon, Lawrence Janifer, Jodie Scott. So unfortunately, some of these I don't think are... And no joke, I've got a lot of... Let's see if I can show you. It's falling apart in my hands. Let me just get rid of that. Hopefully they're not all like that. So the quality of the paper on these ones. So again, the Magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction, May. Zena Henderson in there. Elsbrag de Camp. Yeah, look at that. That's... I might not even open these. I think this is probably mice or something, right? Yeah. Okay, so I might not open these fantasy and science fiction magazines. Is this one better? This one looks a little bit better. Yeah, this one's better. So Fantasy and Science Fiction magazine. Not the greatest cover. That probably wouldn't attract me as a young person in the 60s. But Isaac Asimov, Harry Harrison, Fritz Lieber might. So let's the first time probably take a look in here because it's not falling apart. So July 63, volume 4, number 8, British edition again. Edward Wellen, Findlay, Larry Harris, Donald Westlake, Calvin Demon, Willem Moeller, Fritz Lieber, Harry Harrison, Isaac Asimov. And this month's featured story, Hunter Come Home by Richard McKenna. So who's the editor? Did I look at the editor here? I haven't got it. Can't see it easily. Oh no, Avram Davidson. So I've got a lot of short story collections by Avram Davidson. So now it makes sense. Okay, back to Astounding. Is that the same size? Oh, okay. So slightly smaller. Now, is this slight increase in price, slightly smaller to save on printing costs? Therefore, later? Let's see. Oh no, because it's 1 and 9, so maybe it's earlier. Exploration Team by Murray Leinster. That's a good one. Let's ride some bears. Yes, this is earlier. Good condition. 1956, volume 12, number 8. Illustration by EMSH. Cover by symbol is projection. The shadow need not indicate the object. Interesting. August 1956, Murray Leinster, August Budrys, Eric Frank Russell, Herbert L. Cooper, and Robert Heinlein, Double Star, which I think I've got as a paperback. Yep, more Astounding. September, Double Star, so Robert Silverberg. So the serial starts or continues, depends if we're going backwards. No, conclusion, so we're going forwards. And volume 12, number 9, September 1956. Asimov, Frank Russell, Budrys. Wow, the names. Symbol, energy conversion electrical generator. You would have got that right. Astounding is definitely the most astounding here. One of those painted covers again of a similar, is that EMSH? If I'm guessing them now. No, Van Dongen. Illustrations by EMSH. Cover by Van Dongen. Symbol, 2's company, 3's a crowd. That won't work. That's a pretty good one. Anyone that knows how cogs work. Volume 12, number 10, October 56. Everett B. Cole, Raymond F. Jones, John A. Century, Varley Lang, and then the article by Asimov. Nice. I feel like these would be like really educational as well as entertaining, right? Have we lost a bit of that, or does that still exist? I don't know. Okay, big new issue. So what's that? The Magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction. I've also got Fantastic Stories of Imagination, and this one is fantastic science fiction, fantastic stories. So this is a different one, I think, and it's the smaller size again. So new, August 1970, so a bit later. Oh, Lagan, Ballard, Gordon Eklund, Robert Toomey, Over Hamlet, Lincoln Albert. Interesting. Much whiter pages, that's for sure. Sol Cohen, the publisher, cover by Jeff Jones. Nice. Ballard. Say Goodbye to the Wind by Ballard. Ted White is the editor. Volume 19, number 6, August 1970. Published bi-monthly. Nice. So there's a few different ones here. I'm going to put them together. Yeah, a few different types. Okay, back to Astounding. The Execution of Her by August Budrus. Great cover. Like that on a poster or a postcard. Oh, that's not another stuck cover, is it? Theodore Sturgeon, first I've heard in here. Won't You Walk for Theodore Sturgeon, and Under Pressure conclusion for the serial from Frank Herbert. And it's June 1956. And cover by Van Dongen again. Okay, to remember Van Dongen. Nice. So July 1956. So Double Star Part 1. So that's the selling of Double Star by Robert Heinlein. Mark Clifton, Paul Janvier, Reg Ryan, Christopher Anvil. Symbol, wavicle, the uncertain nature of wave or particle. Astounding. Okay, this is another one of those fantastic stories. So I presume, yeah, December 1970, this one. Brian Aldiss, first time. R.A. Lafferty. And Barry Malzburg's in there as well. Nice. Right, let's have a look. Volume 20, number 2, December 1970. So Ted White, Sol Cohen again. New features Ted White, famous, fantastic Dwight Swain, the new Barry and Malzburg, the new Rappaccini. Been a long, long time, R.A. Lafferty, and Cardiac Arrest by Brian Aldiss, the new novelette. Nice. Oh, this one looks slightly different. There's another Theodore Sturgeon here. Volume 1, number 4. I like it. I always like it. Someone's put the numbers there. I always like it when things are volume 1, right? Volume 1, number 4, which is, what does it say? 1953 by Ziff Davis Publishing. Editor Howard Brown. Cover by Augusto Marin. The Letter by Doris Kay, Robert Bloch, Jerome Bixby, William Lindsay Gresham, Theodore Sturgeon, which is Beware the Fury, The Moon and Nonsense, Anything to Declare. So is that the oldest one? Volume 1, number 4. Pretty good condition again for the age. Is that another one? Volume 1, number 3. Oh, please give me Volume 1, number 1. A fantastic. So this is 90. So Walter Miller, unusual fantasy fiction. This is. So August Budrus, Walter M. Miller Jr., The Will, Frank Freeman, Jerome Bixby again. So 1953, Volume 1, number 3. Interesting. Come on, can it? I bet it's not. It won't be, will it? Oh, okay, back to the Magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction. 60-cent one. The covers weren't as great, were they? It's 20th anniversary, all new stories, which is great. And I can see Ray Bradbury and Philip K. Dick on there, which is good. But the covers weren't as attractive. I think the paper quality wasn't good, but it's late, like they've got photos, which is 20th anniversary issue. So Asimov, Aldis, Philip K. Dick, The Electric Ant is in here. Roger Zelazny, Robert Bloch, Ray Bradbury, Theodore Sturgeon, Larry Niven, that's the first we've heard of him, Graham Wilson, Isaac Asimov. Cover by Ronald Wolotsky, second cover, see page 43. And so that's 1969, 20th edition, so it's good, 20th edition. Don't know, honestly, I have no idea of prices and things like that, and I'm not really that bothered about that, but if you think volume 1, issue 1. So more fantasy and science fiction. That's a good one. Okay, this is strange. So advert is the first page, pretty much. Sterling Lanier, Robin Scott, Howard Fast, Ron Goulart, Bruce McAllister, Robert Silverberg, After the Myths Went Home. And Asimov again. Asimov, blimey. Talk about Paul Anderson being prolific. Asimov was ridiculous. 1969 again. So only a handful left now, guys. And back to analog. The Longest Voyage, talking Paul Anderson, The Longest Voyage, Paul Anderson, which I think is the serial. So maybe this is the kick-off of the serial. No, novelette, Longest Voyage, and also The K Factor by Harry Harrison. Mark Phillips, John W. Campbell. So volume, what's that, 17, number 4. So April 61. No symbol on that one by the looks of it. Oh, and that's back to analog, sorry. So yeah, back to analog, not Astounding. In my head was Astounding. They're all very similar. So fantasy and science fiction, Sonia Dorman. Man, that's a good cover, isn't it? Really good cover. Hints of Marilyn there. Bye Bye Banana Bird, Sonia Dorman. Robert Carson, Barry Malzburg, The Falcon and the Falconeer, Barry Malzburg. Anyone know that one? So yeah, anything you hear that you recommend as a short story, I'm very in the dark. 1969. And obviously something I want to do more of. Okay, Fantastic Stories, back to that one. Shinier cover, 1970. So these are the older ones. Sorry, the most recent ones. And this is The Crimson Witch by Dinar Kuntz in this one. So most famous for horror, so maybe, well, it's fantastic, so it could be a bit of anything, couldn't it? October 1970, Dinar Kuntz's new complete fantasy novel, The Crimson Witch. And then Greg Bemford, first I've seen there, The Movement. Barry Malzberg again, As Between Generations. So I haven't got a lot of Malzberg, and it's quite interesting to have a few short stories here that I could just flick into. New features, there's one called Fantasy Books by Fritz Lieber, could be interesting. Famous Fantastic Classic, David Wright O'Brien, Spook for Yourself. Volume 20, number 1. Oh, this one's falling apart. Okay, this is the first Amazing Stories. God, there's a range here. And this is volume 1, number 3. So early in it again. Look at that cover. That's a bit freaky. That's a bit scary. No, what's the age of this one then? 1953 again. So it wasn't amazing, was it? It was fantastic. But Amazing Stories, volume 1, number 3. I Love Lucifer by William McGivern. Jerome Bixby, Evan Hunter. The Builder by Philip K. Dick. Robert Bloch, Wallace West. Robert Sheckley, the first we've heard of Robert Sheckley, The Perfect Woman. Wow, 1953. Let's have a look at the Philip K. Dick one. What page is that one on? 54. 54 is there. The Builder by Philip K. Dick. Intrigued. Amazing Stories. Another Amazing Stories, volume 1, number 4. So there's none of the early ones. Do you think someone noticed or something at the auction? They get rid of the volume 1, episode 1. Call Him Savage by John Pollard. Bit of tape on that one. Someone's definitely tried to put them back together, but it feels like early on they tried to put them back together. I don't think it's recent because they're so again, 1953. Wow. Howard Brown, editor, this one. Walter M. Miller Jr., but the Walter is spelt with an H. Interesting. Dan Timor, Robert Arthur, Jerome Bixby. Frederick Brown, I think that's the first I've seen of him. Keep Out. Eric Frank Russell again. Nice. Right, nearly finished. 5 left. Amazing Stories. Fact and Science Fiction Amazing Stories. Yeah, is the same. Sunburst, a new novel by Phyllis Gottlieb. Some of these have that cutaway, unfortunately, on the back. But what can you expect? They're very old. Oh no, this is another one that's been attacked by mice. Let me just have a look. March 1964, volume 38, number 3. Yeah, I'm not going to show you it inside. It's attacked by mice again and it's fallen all over my desk. I'm guessing it's attacked by mice, or it's just... Okay, this is a one I haven't got, a series, Beyond Fantasy Fiction. Again, taped, and the tape is brown as. So these are old, and the fix-up was old. Oof. Volume 1, number 2 of Beyond Fantasy Fiction. Theodore I. Cogswell, Robert Bloch, Philip K. Dick, The King of the Elves is in here. John Wyndham's in here, first I've seen. So How Do I Do, short story. Margaret Sinclair, first I've seen Margaret Sinclair. 1953 again. So some of these are, whoa, 1953. There's still no Volume 1, Episode 1. Volume 1, number 4, Beyond. Call Me Wizard by Evelyn Smith, William Morris, Jerome Bixby. It's a good cover. I'm just checking I can show that. Edited by H.L. Gold. Cover by Conrad. Frederick Pohl's in here. That's the first we've seen of Frederick Pohl, the Ghost Maker. And Perforce to Dream, short story by John Wyndham. And that one, it must be again 1953. 6D copy. Wow. I left the oldest ones for last, right? But still no Volume 1, Episode 1. Fantasy and science fiction. These are much more kind of cardboardy. They feel like cardboardy, but good condition. So Dean Koontz again. 1969. Edgar Pangborn, first we've seen of him. A Third Hand by Dean Koontz. Larry Eisenberg, Bruce McAllister. Gene Wolfe in here, Car Sinister. Jack Cady, Doris Pitkin Buck, Robin Scott. Joanna Russ. Oh, but she's right. Features, it's about books, is by Joanna Russ. So slightly later. And then the last one is Winter 1977. So the newest one, Isaac Asimov's science fiction magazine. And there's his famous face on the front. So the newest one, I was really hoping for a Volume 1, 35p, it's got in there. Basic set of Dungeons and Dragons is advertised. So we're into the 70s. And editorial Isaac Asimov, To Sin Against, so Gary R. Osgood, Martin Gardner, Robert Lee Hawkins, Barry Malzburg, The Several Murders of Roger Ackroyd, Steve Utley, L. Sprague de Camp. So yeah, that's pretty good condition there, but it's slightly newer apart from that chunk at the top. So wow, like there's a lot of damage, but I've got 3 piles like this basically. That's all the Astounding stuff, and there's some great stuff in there. I have to say, and there's the box. I have to say, I don't know. It doesn't appeal to me as much as a short story, A format paperback, but there's something there that's gonna at least get me to do a bit more research and understand those. I think there's probably 6 different publications there, how they fit in with the timeline and the history of our hobby. And there's some amazing authors with some, maybe, I don't know, like rare short stories in there. So the Philip K. Dick, the Barry Malzburg, etc., the John Wyndham, stuff like that. I'm going to keep them. I'm going to see what I've got in the order. And then it's just about space in the library and, presenting and things like that. But yeah, please reach out. There's probably people who watch this who are way beyond me on these periodicals and pulp, science fiction pulp. So please reach out, give me all the information, anything that you notice which is interesting, please reach out. But thank you as always for watching. Back to books next time for sure. I've got a 90 book haul next to me, which is I think 60s to 80s science fiction, which I'll be going through soon. And yeah, let's keep going. Loving it. Joy. Cheers.